Hi, I'm Eric Knowles, and this is the Miami-Dade Chamber of Commerce Member Connection. But before we get started, a word from one of our supporters.
At Convey, we're not only dedicated to solving today's biggest challenges facing healthcare organizations, we're also committed to predicting and planning for tomorrow's challenges by uniting a family of companies. We combine powerful technology with robust data analytics to deliver integrated end-to-end solutions that achieve meaningful results. Start your journey towards transformative business performance with Convey.
Hi, and welcome back to the Miami-Dade Chamber of Commerce Member Connection. I'm your host, Eric Knowles, president, the excited president, excited about our members growing, excited about what's happening in our community. And today we have Mr. Holland. How are you, Ed?
I am great. How are you?
I'm fantastic, man. I want you to tell the audience a little bit about yourself. And I know you do something a lot of people would like to do.
I am.
Yes. Go ahead. Tell the folks about.
And first, thank you for the opportunity. This is a great platform. I currently am in the voiceover business.
Okay. You have an amazing voice.
Well, thank you. And like I tell people, that's part of it. But just like a tall person, you would think they're cut out for basketball, but it's a lot more than just being tall to play basketball. So with voiceover, it's more than the voice. And most people know what a voiceover is, but just for the record, a voiceover is any message that a person speaks, but you don't see the person on camera.
Right.
Whether it's a narration, even voicemail, but you hear voiceovers every day. You don't even think about it.
Right.
You get in your car, it says doors open. That's a voiceover. You get in an elevator, third floor. Somebody had to record that.
Right.
So and it's amazing now. Siri, everywhere. And I just think about it. I can't even watch TV the same way I used to because now I'm listening.
Right.
Oh, they did an inflection that way, or they laughed on that word. And it's amazing. It's like in the industry you're in, you just focus on it now. So it's something that I think I've always been interested in, but wasn't sure about how to get into it.
Right. And actually, and I don't necessarily say let the cat out of the bag. It's something that I've always wanted to do as well. And like you said, it's not an easy industry to break into. I've for the chamber over the years have voiced pieces, commercials, 30-second spots on various radio stations. And you would think that, like you said, it's an easy industry to break into. How long have you been in the business?
I've been in the business since 2020.
Okay.
Pandemic was when I had time to really think about it. But I didn't go full time until this past June.
Okay.
At the time I was teaching school. I was teaching middle school for 15 years. And I decided to go ahead and take my part-time voiceover career to a full-time. And everybody who I've come across learning about voiceover, they always say it's a marathon, not a sprint.
Right.
It's not like, go out and make easy money. And so you're going to have to put the time into it. And I tell you, I've been doing it, like I said, since 2020. And I've done some jobs, not a ton yet. I don't have a ton of recurring clients, even though I do have some.
Right.
But it says it's a marathon. You build relationships, you meet people in the industry. And I mean, there are countless stories of people who got jobs, there's one guy who does the voiceovers for Today's Show. But he said it was 9 years between the time he met the person who finally got him the job and later on, just things happened.
Right.
And then he said, you know what? I remember this young man 9 years ago.
Right.
And, relationships in almost every business are the key to a lot of connections.
That's a good point that you make in terms of the key. It's about relationships and building relationships. I remember you came on our member connection member meetup on Tuesdays, and then you stayed and you started to build those relationships, and being a member of the chamber, I really believe it's about relationships. It's about connecting the dots. A lot of people join chambers, and as I say, I use the analogy, people join the gym and they expect to get something out of it. But if you don't go to that gym, you're not going to get anything out of it. Talk about your experience. We're going to go back to the voiceovers a little bit, but talk to about your experience, engaging with the chamber and why you thought it was important.
Well, funny enough, one of my past careers was accounting. When I got out of school, I went to Florida State University. Got my CPA in about 1982. And I worked for a few accounting firms. And at one point, one of our firms was doing some work with the chamber,
Okay.
which is when I first knew about it. And I was a member of the National Association of Black Accountants. So a lot of those same people I was seeing in those two organizations. And I became aware of it. And the things that I saw about it was good. I saw a lot of people get involved in the community. And so over the years, I knew about it. But now that I've had my second business, because I did have a small business before this, and I didn't get involved in the chamber. I was too busy in the business at a dance studio in North Miami for 22 years.
Okay.
And looking back, I said, you know what? I would have benefited more. We did a lot of things in the community. We performed a lot, but as far as getting involved with other business people in the community, I never turned down the opportunity. I just never took the time to do it because, unfortunately, juggling everything at the same time.
Right.
And so now I'm in my second business. I said, I'm not going to pass up the opportunity to become more involved, even be a service to others, because it's not always, about what people can do for you, but what you can do for others. There might be some small businesses who just might need somebody to record their outgoing phone message,
Right.
And even that might be a help for them. So I just want to be more involved. And now that I see the benefits of it.
Right. So going back to the whole business of voiceovers, it's using the analogy that you did when we first began. As they say, you might see somebody who's 6'7", 6'8", but that doesn't necessarily make them automatically be a good basketball player. And even with training, that may not be because that's just not that person. Talk about this business of voiceovers, because you have a ton of people out here who have great voices, but that doesn't mean you're going to be a great voiceover artist.
Absolutely. Voice is part of it, but storytelling. If you talk to a lot of voice artists, voice actors, in fact, let me stop there because basically people who do voiceovers are voice actors.
Right.
Yourself, you're an actor. You have to become that person. You have to become that character. That's what we have to do behind the mic, even though people don't see us.
Right.
I can't convince you that that I'm a bouncer or I'm a football player if I'm going to have a squeaky voice and sound timid.
Right.
I've got to become, or even a dog. There's commercials where talking dogs. You got to become that talking dog.
Right.
So it's all about storytelling, and people use their experiences for the voiceover. It's not like, well, if you were this, you would be a great voiceover person. Or if you were this, no matter what your experience is. If you were a pharmacist, I know somebody who was a pharmacist, had a pharmacy for like 15 years. He does a lot of medical commercials because a lot of those terms don't flow off your tongue easily.
Right.
Now, you can learn it.
Right.
But if you already knew it, how much better that is. Again, I used to teach people who were in school, who especially elementary school, who are always reading and storytelling. You can't just tell the story straight.
No.
You got to go up and down, and the monster came in, and they were scared. It's storytelling.
Right.
So definitely the number one thing in voiceover is know how to tell the story, know who you're talking to. There are like 4 or 5 key points. You got to know who you're talking to, who you are, what problem you're trying to solve, because everything is different. I can't do a toy commercial the same way I would do a hypertension commercial.
Right.
Everything is different. So it's connecting with it. And it's amazing. When I first got into it, I thought it was, okay, you're reading. You have to make it sound good.
Right.
But there's so much put into, you have to really connect with it. And people say, you can tell in the first 5 seconds if you connected with it or not.
Right.
Going back to my other profession when we had the dance studio. Matter of fact, a few members I see on the chamber, I used to work with in the dance industry, but we would go to competitions. And within the first few seconds, you could tell if that person is going to give you a good performance. Sometimes by the way they walk on stage, by the way they hold their posture. And when the dance starts, first 10 seconds easily, you can pretty much have a 90% accuracy on how it's going to be. And that's how it is with the voiceovers. When they listen to your auditions, they can tell right away if you're connected.
Right.
So,
and I know the one thing they talk about when you're working on your voiceover is basically what happened in the scene prior to that moment that you're in when you're doing that 30-second or a 60-second, or who are you relating to? Are you relating to your son? Are you relating to the neighbor? Those type of things. Talk about that a little bit.
You're exactly right. That is definitely one of the key points, because if the commercials for a headache, and I said, a Bayer is the best aspirin out there. Before that happened, what happened? Did somebody come up to me and say, "Oh, I got this horrible headache," or was I a salesman in the store trying to sell somebody on it? And I've got to take that role and just put myself in it, because we do it all the time. When we talk to somebody, you're going to talk to your child different than you're going to talk to your spouse or to somebody who you don't get along with. You posture yourself and you say, "Okay, I'm going to say it this way so to get across." and you definitely have to think about what happened before. And we have coaches, people who we go to from time to time, sometimes on a regular basis, sometimes just when you need it. And one coach I was going to, he says, "You're not selling the product, you're selling the emotion that goes with the product." Like they said, you don't always remember exactly what happened, but you remember how it made you feel. And if you're trying to get relief from a headache, you're trying to just sell people on not necessarily that medicine, but how good it would feel not to go through the whole day without it.
Yeah, exactly. That's a good point. That's a good point.
And once they said that, I said, yeah, you're not really just, because you can really substitute Bayer for Tylenol or anything else, but it's relief from that headache that you're trying to sell.
Exactly. Now, the one thing you mentioned, having a coach, and a lot of times, and I think about different things. I play golf. Got a lot of buddies that play golf, and none of them take lessons. Now, some of them play pretty good, but just think if you had a coach. The Tiger Woods of the world have coaches.
Yes.
Basketball teams, they have a coach. Football, baseball, everybody has a coach. So when it comes to business, why do we think we don't need a coach, or why is it important to have a coach?
Well, in business, like I said, using my prior example, I was so wrapped up in the business that I didn't take time to get help with the things I needed. And sometimes I use analogies like running a race. If you're running and your shoes are untied, and you say, "Well, I would like the time, but I don't have time because I'm running a race," but you kind of need to stop to tie your shoes. Another quote, Abraham Lincoln. I just learned this maybe a couple of weeks ago. Sometimes I learn things while I'm doing auditions. Scripture come across, and I say, "Oh, I never heard that before." And I think the quote was, Abraham Lincoln said, if he had 4 hours to cut down a tree, he would spend the first 3 hours sharpening his axe. I said, "Oh, that's brilliant."
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so definitely. And it was small business. You're doing everything yourself, and so I can't afford to get help. Sometimes you can't afford not to get help.
Right.
And so it's really, really important in business or anything to get help from others who did it before. You don't reinvent the wheel.
And I always talk about having the back of your house together. To your point, as you're saying, you're so busy running and doing what it is that you do, and you don't have time to do those things. So having someone in place, whether it's an accountant, CPA, bookkeeper, having an attorney, having a marketing team, you can't, unless you have that expertise to market yourself. Why would you not have a marketing coach?
Exactly. And a coach to help you get better in it. And even beyond that, to delegate duties. There was a seminar the other day that the chamber sponsored about, delegating duties, because sometimes you can do it all, but you don't have time to do it all.
Right.
And go ahead and let somebody else do something that they're good at, so you can spend more time doing what you're good at. But definitely get in a coach and get in advice. Again, going back to the chamber. Again, I've been to maybe 3 or 4 of the small business meetups, and during the actual meeting, I see people saying, "Well, I'm in this business," and somebody said, "Oh, I need somebody in that business." Just yesterday, they said, "Oh, I'm looking for another chamber member who prints T-shirts or who does this," and it's just amazing that connection. And you still have to go through the vetting to make sure they have the services that you need, but still, at least you start with people who are like-minded.
Right.
And so it's good to have those connections for coaching, for delegating duties, and just for being more efficient.
Well, I tell you mentioned delegating, and I had the fortune of working, I would say, with Wayne Huizinga, for Huizinga. Wayne owned Blockbuster, owned AutoNation, owned the Miami Dolphins,
Right, right.
brought the Marlins to
Yes.
Florida, brought the Panthers to Florida, and there's one other Waste Management.
Waste management. Yes.
Okay,
Exactly.
the only gentleman, he's a billionaire, the only billionaire to take 3 companies to Fortune 500, and that was Blockbuster, Waste Management, and AutoNation. But my point in saying that, when you talk about delegating, obviously he wasn't sitting running all these business. He hired folks that had the professionals, had the expertise to run these businesses, and that's how he delegated. He was that brilliant a person that had the ideas, or people brought the ideas to him, and he knew how to execute and bring the people around him. So delegating is very important.
Yes, and that's not an area that I'm an expert in yet. The necessity is there. Even sometimes when you're in the business by yourself, again, you feel like you have to do everything. But one of my children, my oldest daughter, good in websites. She said, "Let me do the website for you." I said, "Well, I'm gonna look into these companies that do websites for voiceover." She said, "I do it for you for free." And I said, "You know what? Why am I not? Why am I not doing it?" So she
Right.
set up my website. Um, Social media is a big part of getting out there, and I've dabbled in a little bit, but at some point I might need somebody who knows it in and out,
Absolutely.
you know, to help me with it, whether it's on a weekly basis or a monthly or whatever. And it's amazing what, once somebody frees up something, you don't have to worry about it. You know, these little things. Say, do you have it? What I asked you for? I said, yeah, I have it, and boom, you just keep going.
But it goes back to what I was saying about the Wayne Heisingers of the world. You know, he doesn't have time to be doing the mundane or the day-to-day, but he has the brilliance to say, I need it done, and to find those folks who can do it.
Absolutely. And they said the people at the top of the game, they're smart enough to know that they surround themselves with people. Sometimes they say they surround themselves with people smarter than them.
Well, absolutely.
You know, so yeah, that's how it goes. But we just have to get out of that I do everything myself mindset. Because I was that way when I had the dance studio. And over time, my wife joined me in working the business, and I had a lot of people I could trust. We could take vacations and go do, and I didn't have to worry about it because I know the people had my back and we're doing
Right.
their things. But yeah, you definitely can't do it by yourself.
Okay. So if someone wants to get in touch with you, learn more about Ed Holland and voiceovers, how can they do that?
My website is www.edhollandvo.com. VO as in voiceover. I'm on LinkedIn, just my name. My email address is edwin@edhollandvo.com. And my number is 305-562-7158.
Okay. So if you want to know more about the Miami-Dade Chamber, go to m-dcc.org, or you can call the Chamber at 305-751-8648. So we'd love for you to tune in every Monday at noon. This is the Miami-Dade Chamber of Commerce Member Connection. See you next Monday. Today, I stand before you, a proud graduate of Miami-Dade College and the 5th president of the Miami-Dade Chamber of Commerce. I'm honored to return to the college that prepared me to become a leader in our community, providing an education second to none. So I'm asking you to please tune in every Monday at 12 noon to the Miami-Dade Chamber of Commerce's Member Connection, as I interview members of the Miami-Dade Chamber of Commerce on our Facebook page at Miami-Dade Chamber of Commerce, or our YouTube channel, Miami-Dade Chamber of Commerce. To learn more about the Chamber, please go to m-dcc.org or call the Chamber at 305-751-8648.